Hey guys, hope you're all having a great day. In this video, I want to talk about this specific limelight hydrangea tree that I have and sort of a particular scenario that maybe not everybody's going to deal with, but certain people are going to deal with. So long story short, we have a big storm coming, actually not snow, but rain incoming. We're going to have really strong wind gusts, a lot of rain. So I want to take precautionary measures to make sure that nothing's going to happen to this tree by cutting off a lot of these hydrangea blooms. Now, you may have heard from a lot of gardeners and people that have these hydrangeas that it's actually a good thing to wait until the spring because they provide a lot of great winter interest, and you can see how beautiful this still looks in the wintertime. However, there is a catch to these blooms, especially with something like a limelight that has really thick blooms. They can catch a lot of wind, or same thing if you have a lot of heavy snow in the wintertime. We do see a lot of snow, more so in like the later part of winter, but at this time of year we do see a lot of stronger kind of nor'easters where we get a lot of wind and rain, and that can be just as damaging as heavy snow. So to prevent any branches from snapping from this upcoming storm that we're getting, I'm going to be cutting this hydrangea. Even though it's only December, usually I would do this in like late February, early March, but I do want to prune this back today just to prevent anything from happening. So I just want to show you what I'm going to be doing today and kind of going over the basics for when you're pruning either a panicle or smooth hydrangea. So some examples of that are limelight, firelight, quickfire, and then the smooth hydrangea would be either like Annabelle or Incredible. Those are the hydrangeas you actually want to prune. If you have anything like a big leaf hydrangea, oak leaf hydrangea, mountain hydrangea, you don't want to prune those really at all. So this only goes for those two types. So what I want to do with this is I'm going to be cutting these branches back by about a third. And if you want to get closer right over here, each one of these stems does have buds on them in these little sections. So you want to cut these branches right above where there's a set of buds. Those buds are going to be new growth for next year, and if you cut it right above it, then you're not even going to see any of that like dead branch that's left over from the year beforehand. So with this branch that I have right here, I figured this would be a good one to start off with. I want to cut this back by about a third. So I'd say this branch is maybe about 3 feet long or so. So I'm going to cut it back about, a third or so of that length. And there is a little set of buds that's right here. There's 1, 2, 3. This will be 3 new branches for next year. So I'm just going to take this here and cut it just like that. I'm actually going to save these hydrangeas too, because especially the more good looking flowers, you can actually save these. You can make little arrangements out of them, use them in your winter containers, or even make wreaths out of them. So I'm just going to drop that in here, and I'm going to continue doing this for the entire thing. The one thing that I just wanted to mention with these hydrangeas is you just want to make sure that they are completely dormant. So you can see I cut this here. There are no leaves on this. We've had consistent temperatures below freezing, and all of these blooms are completely dried up. So if you're still seeing green leaves on the plant, if you haven't really hit 32 degrees in your area, then you really don't want to do this yet. You want to make sure that it's completely dormant. Otherwise, it's better off to wait until you do have those temperatures. The best thing that you can do is at least cut it right above here if you're going to have any really bad storms and you're very concerned about it. But the reason that you don't want to prune these until the plant is dormant is if there still is a little bit of green on it and you happen to have a warm stretch of temperatures for a week or two, it could actually stimulate new growth. And you don't want to do that in the fall because it's going to end up hurting the plant more than it's going to help it. So besides that, I'm just going to end up cutting the rest of this, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the end. So I've cut back almost the entire thing. You can see it looks quite a bit different. There's just a couple other things I wanted to mention. I saved this branch for the end because I wanted to show you if you run into a situation like this. This branch initially was facing upwards like this, and I think through actually more like summer winds and other storms that we had, it ended up kind of twisting down like this. So this branch isn't all that strong anymore. So what I'm actually going to do is cut the entire thing back instead of trying to save these branches that are twisted over. There's not really any buds here. I'm seeing a couple of them in particular, but I'm just going to cut it back to about here. And then if this like little stub ends up growing from a couple other buds, and that's great. If not, it's no big deal because there's plenty of other buds there. So that can go over here. Last thing I just wanted to mention, I did save this tiny little thing too. If you have any of these little tiny spindly branches like this, you want to only save the thick hardy branches, so you can see these other ones are much thicker. So something like this is better off to just cut all the way back to the stem. So you want to save just the hardiest, thickest branches, kind of like if you cut back a rose bush, doing something similar to that. So I'm going to cut back the rest of these little spindly branches, and then the last thing that you just want to do is you just want to look at the overall shape of the entire thing and just kind of look at it from different angles and say, okay, where are there some really tall branches? Are there some gaps that need to be filled? And this is kind of where you can work on the shape for the next season and just see, you know, where you need to fill in any more of those spaces. Just another example, same limelight hydrangea tree. This one just happens to be in a little bit more shade. So this is what it looks like before pruning. And here's the after. So I just cut back all these branches, got rid of anything spindly. And I will mention, if you have a hydrangea in a little bit of a shadier situation, it's not a bad idea to cut it closer to a half of the length instead of a third, because these branches tend to be a little bit more spindly and kind of reach out more since they're in the shade. So don't be afraid to cut these back a little bit harder than the ones that might be in full sun. So that's all I really wanted to say for this video. You can see I have this cut hydrangea right next to me. If you don't really have too many of these concerns for the winter, then I would say, you know, early March is a really great time to prune these if you want to wait until the springtime. But besides that, I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you in the next one.